Abusiani come out China so how age politics Albany. Podcast also trendy up. Big boys big headlines na jembe need be action war need him any ahobraxi mo mesa say young political habits ni jedem a onia any access to akra. Lawyer Martin Kpebu a private legal practitioner. Na what check say Daniel Yusuf ono oka eye abu Trica eye ne scandal na ho so obeka ya Daniel Yusuf ye di abu Trica eko akadani Yusuf na lawyer Martin Kpebu check say ye de Daniel Yusuf eko kan eye abu Trica hodia then there should be an exchange of Ken Ofori Atta before Daniel Yusuf. Other than that, they should forget. Oruano adimre na o hwe nsem eti sei egu ho ewo the key point you dey so o team trade. Me shock say mon wram abrabuda for so adimre na omo so edi wura nsem fufurum. Age politics up. E mon wura nsem fufurum.
Do the quick rituals. You see, people of Ghana, this Abu Trica matter, it's not yet dead though. There is the matter of the alleged co-conspirator, Daniel Yusuf. He's not been extradited yet. We know for now, we will say confidently that Abu Trica was what? Rendered. He was not extradited. Rendition is when you don't follow the laws of extradition. You just take the person and bundle him and take him to that other country. So it's very clear that at the time they were taking Abu Trica, there were processes before the court in the High Court. So that was a rendition. Let's not render Daniel Yusuf. Let's wait. At the time they are bringing Ofori Atta, then we would give them Daniel Yusuf. At the time they bring Ofori Atta, so there should be an exchange, like what happened in the 80s, the Michael Susudis matter. We exchange Susudis and co for other persons, right? So let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. Number two, men above 40. Oh, did you see this popular journalist in the UK? Monahan. Yeah, he died of prostate cancer. He didn't see. You know, Sky TV. He was the face of Sky TV for about. He was on that. He worked for them for about 15 years. In the last days, he was quite the face of Sky TV. By the time he went to hospital, his prostate cancer was stage 4. He died. Such a popular person. So men above 40, don't let us lose you needlessly. And those who pee outside, that one, men and women, those who pee outside, let's stop. It's not befitting of a country like us. Look, let's remember that civilization started from Africa. It didn't start from Europe. Civilization started here. So how come now we've lost all of our civilization so much that now we go peeing outside? And the people who copied from us, they don't pee outside. I don't know which streets in London or Berlin or San Francisco you can go and stand and pee. There was this story in the middle of nowhere in the bush around San Francisco. I wanted to pee. I said, no, wait for another 30 minutes before we got to a rest. We got to a bathhouse. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And promise to recover all loots in the lead up to the 2024 elections. There was a promise to ensure that we fast-tracked our administration of justice. And we've always had this belief and cliche that justice delayed is justice denied. Now, I've always argued that we cannot guarantee the survival of Ghana's Fourth Republic if we don't do something about rot, corruption, economic crime. Now, research show that one of the reasons why President Mahama had that massive vote in the 2024 election was the belief and the expectation that something drastic would have to be done to address economic crime and corruption. Generally, we also agree several research, Afrobarometer surveys, etc., have highlighted the challenges and problems that we've had with our traditional court system. The court system generally have pandered to the cliche that the wheels of justice must always grind slowly, without being concerned about how this cliche undermines public confidence and threatens the survival of our democracy and the survival of our peace. So it's always, allow it to go through the regular process. Let it go through the regular process, and the wheels of justice would grind slowly and all. But I'm saying that the perpetuation of this cliche, without us being minded by how this cliche threatens the survival of our democracy and the survival of our peace, makes us a people who do not think right. Now, let me give you an example before I go on to make my substantive point. I mean, somebody said something against me, very unfounded, made some wild allegations against me. And then I was very uncomfortable. I got my lawyer, showed all the evidence that suggests that what the person was talking about were unfounded. And then I sat down with my lawyer, Kandi Beidu. The Kandi, take the person to court. She looks at the evidence I had provided, said, your matter is solid. We are going to court. But by the time she was leaving my office, she said, my prof, at the minimum, we'll spend 2 years to have judgment. I said, what? 2 years? I said, oh, by the access of the wheels of justice, they say it grinds slowly. And I said, it's okay, let it go. Now, I decided to forgive. But I'm telling you that to some people who feel that they cannot tolerate this bogus cliche that we have festered and perpetuated as a people, they want to take things into their own hands and misbehave. And when they do that, we cannot guarantee the survival of our peace and democracy. So the idea of ensuring speedy discharge of justice through regional and the creation of regional tribunals, which are constitutionally provided for, in my view, must not worry anybody, particularly those who know that they have not done anything wrong against the state. When they are selling headache medicine, the crab would always be asleep because the crab has no head. If you have not gone to do anything that is untoward, if you have not perpetuated any economic crime against the state, if you've not looted, I mean, it's crab medicine, headache medicine they are selling. The crab must always be sleeping because it has no head. Look, as for you see, there are arguments. You see, the point is this: there are arguments for and arguments against the attempt to, or the establishment of these tribunals. But in my view, so long as these tribunals do not sin or are not sinful against the spirit and the letter of our 1992 Constitution, and so long as they have specific focus to tackle corruption and not generally issues of human rights, then the government, as I've always argued with some people, has the mandate to go ahead to do what is right. And it's been said here, I'll give specific example, that the kind of tribunals that are being set up or are going to be set up are going to be way different from those ones that were established during the Rawlings PNDC regime. Number one, if you look at the tribunals that were established during Rawlings' regime, the tribunals were established through PNDC Law 24, and this was outside the 1979 Constitution. But the current ones that are to be established, they find their roots in constitutional provisions. So Article 142, 143, etc. of the 1992 Constitution have been used, have been mentioned. If you look at the scope of the tribunals that operated during the revolutionary times, they had broader scope of dealing with criminal issues and then also dealing with political issues. But the scope of these ones to be established are narrow. They are talking about economic crimes and corruption. Then you can also talk about the right of appeal. During the PNDC times, the tribunals, once they convict you, you didn't have right to appeal. I'm thinking that, you see, they were taking inspiration at that time from the Athenian court system. Athenian court system was tried by jury, And when you are tried and then you are found guilty, you could not appeal because they believed that the trial itself was done by the people themselves. And if all the people themselves have agreed that you are guilty, then you didn't have the right to appeal. I mean, that was one of the challenges of that Athenian court system. But in these current tribunals that are being established, you have the right to appeal if you think that things have not gone well with you. And then, in terms of human rights, the PNDC tribunals, there were limited safeguards to ensure that human rights were protected. But here, the ones that are being established, it is talking about, you see, just constitutional cases, and then there are fairness principles, and it has safety nets to ensure that human rights are not unnecessarily abused. In terms of composition, in the PNDC era, it was often non-lawyers and PNDC appointees. But in terms of composition of what we have, the sentiments that have been expressed do not, I'm sure, will be taken on board. But if you look at how their provisions are in terms of composition, number one, you have a lawyer. Okay. And the rest of the members can be lawyers too. They have not said that once you have a lawyer, the other members should necessarily not be lawyers. They could be lawyers, they could be non-lawyers. But the point is that if we have an appreciation or if you have confidence by trial by jury, okay, which I've always insisted and argued that sometimes it is better for your own people, your own colleagues to trial you because they better. I was giving an example. If we are all here and then somebody does something that is wrong, and then we are asked to trial the person, we appreciate, and the person is one of us, we appreciate the conditions and the circumstances and the context, okay, within which the person committed a crime. You send it to a judge who is far, far, far remote from the context and circumstances. He's not able to better appreciate. So my point is, if your own people tell you that you are guilty, then you are truly, guilty. And so if we know or we encourage trial by jury, then we should not, as a people, all of a sudden be arguing as if other people who are not judges or they are not lawyers sit and they comment on your conduct, then necessarily they may be wrong. Then maybe last but not the least, we should know that the previous tribunal operated under a military/revolutionary era. The kinds of tribunals that are being proposed now are going to be operated under the fourth Republican democratic practice. So I want to say again, sometimes it is good. I like what Martin said earlier, that if there are fears, we should be minded by them, so that as we go forward, as we prosecute this agenda, we ensure that the fears are not allowed to manifest. But if you look at the differences between the tribunals then and tribunals now, then I can agree with Bernard that the fears may not necessarily be well-founded. Okay. And it is part of our political gimmicks and game that we play in Ghana, that the opposition must always oppose. And and I keep saying that as the good people of Ghana keep learning, we cannot also always continue to be insulting to their intelligence. Okay. Bernard is telling all of us that this thing that we are here talking and we want to split hairs about, this thing evolved or emanated from a bipartisan discussion. Yes. Okay, at the committee level. And so how do you send your people to go discuss this and then they all agree, they churn out a report, and then you come in the public, and because you must always oppose, you want to oppose for everybody to see that you oppose, and you think that the good people of Ghana are not learning. The last time that I had some good, positive public commentary about the opposition was when we had them directly giving orders that, look, President Mahama has declared that we should all participate in a certain national cleanup exercise, and the opposition had not opposed, but had also instructed that its members must participate. Okay,
thank you.
And I heard public commentary about that conduct of the position, and that was positive that, oh, so they are not always there to be opposing. And I think that it's important that we continue to drum home this point, that the opposition, it is part of the duty of the opposition to offer criticisms, but they must not always create an impression that they are always there to oppose, especially if it is unearthed or revealed to the generality of Ghanaians that you are opposing something that you yourself participated in preparing in camera.
Okay.
Then it doesn't make you look good. So my point, let me wind up by saying that, look, if this would further Operation Recover all loot, then I will fully support, because if you speak to the generality of Ghanaians, many people are worried. You promised that you're going to be recovering all loot, and the processes are too slow. The processes are too slow. If this thing would ensure quick dispense of justice without necessarily compromising human rights, then I think that we are in a good place. Let's proceed.
So that point you end on, the quick dispensation of justice without compromising the rights of the accused, is why I bring in lawyer Kofi Bento on this. In fact, that reference you made of the committee's conclusions is captured in this report, that the report of the Joint Committee on Constitutional and Legal and Judiciary on the Tribunals Bill 2026. This is dated July 2026. So the conclusion as signed by the chairperson of this committee says, after careful consideration, the committee is of the view that the bill will provide enormous benefits for the judicial system by promoting access to justice and reducing the backlog of cases in the traditional courts. The committee therefore unanimously recommends that the Honorable House adopts this report and passes the Tribunals Bill 2026 in accordance with the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and the Standing Orders of Parliament, respectfully submitted. So this is a unanimous recommendation by both MPP and NDC MPs on this committee, that is the Joint Committee on Constitution and Legal and Judiciary, on this matter of the Tribunals Bill. No, Mr. Bento.
I don't want to spend time.
And please, let me put it out. I've received quite a number of messages that we are not streaming on YouTube. Our technical team is working on that. We're not streaming now on YouTube, but it's being worked on. So please bear with us. We're live on Facebook, though. TV3 Ghana on Facebook.
We ain't some who team course or channel so mommy and our soldier braid. That's an so body, and Yadum Unya, the percent issue.